Good stuff. Well, Willie, thanks for your time. We'll get into the game itself in a second, but just to first check in on your injury news, we'll go through them one by one. You said James Batchelor with his ankle last week. How's he doing?
Yeah, we'll know a bit more towards the back end of the week on Batch. So yeah, we'll be able to give more news when we receive that. So obviously, Oliver Gildart won't be playing this week due to concussion protocols.
Yeah, just on James, what's the early sort of suggestion on it? You're waiting for full confirmation. What are they saying to you?
Yeah, we're just waiting to get scan results and just to see the extent of what it is. So we'll know a little bit more, as I say, hopefully within the next 24 hours or within the next 24 hours.
If you're not sure at all, would you be more likely to err on the side of caution rather than taking too many risks where you are right now?
No. If he's okay to play, he'll play. If he's not okay, he won't play. So it's one of those where, there's players playing with, with little injuries at the moment, niggles. If they can do their job, they play. If they can't do their job, they won't play. And that'll be similar to how we approach Batch.
Any others? Any fresh ones?
No, just the niggles. And, this time of the year, obviously, there's a lot of sore bodies and things like that. But, nothing to report.
So no Oliver Gildart, as you said. Who comes back into contention there?
Well, the two will be Tom Opacic and Jack Broadbent. So they'll be the two that will look to put in. So one of those guys will come in.
Okay, I'll ask you about Tom. I was going to come back to that. It's now been confirmed he'll leave at the end of the season. I'd seen this wording used. I'll credit Aaron down at the Hull Daily Mail. Victim of circumstance. Is he unfortunate? And is he a victim of circumstance more than anything else with that decision?
Yeah, look, when it comes to recruitment and retention, you've got to look at the squad and you've got a forward plan. And, we brought in Jack Broadbent, who's a utility, so he can play centre. But the area that we probably, we don't have the depth is in our back row. So that's what we're looking to sort of strengthen that area. And, yeah, for Tom, it's unfortunate for Tom. But, as I say, we need to look at areas that we need to strengthen, for our squad in terms of depth, and then we've got a fair few outside backs. So there's a lot that goes into the decision. There's plenty that goes in. There's discussions and form and training and all that sort of stuff that goes into it as well. So we came to the decision that we wanted to, as I say, look at strengthening other positions.
How difficult a decision was it for you?
Yeah, very difficult. Any decision is difficult when it comes to recruitment or moving players on. It's always difficult. So Tom's been a valuable member of our squad for the last 2 years. He's got a great family, and they're very well liked amongst the group. And it's always a difficult decision. But unfortunately, part of this job is you have to make some difficult decisions, and they're not always going to be popular decisions, and it's sometimes they're not always right, but you always got to have reasons behind it, and we've got our reasons obviously while we're looking at different options.
How did he respond?
Yeah, he was fine. It's probably worth speaking to Tom of how he was, but to me, Tom's he's a straight shooter and upfront guy. Naturally, initially it wouldn't have been the best news for him. He's obviously got to do planning and work out his future. But, like everything, we wanted to handle it in the right way and be as honest as we could with Tom, and that's all you can do. But, there's no doubt he wasn't giving us high fives, and I wouldn't expect that. It's a tough decision the club has to make on as I say, on looking to strengthen other positions for depth.
Final one on Tom, you sort of touched on it in the fact that he does come back into the squad. What role can he still play between now and the end of the season?
He'll play the same role that he has for the past year and 3/4 is, when he plays, Tom, he's always all in and plays to his best of his ability. He's played in some big games for us. He's played in some big games for Parramatta. So, hopefully we're playing in some big games at the back end of the year. And I know Tom's ready to go. He said that he's going to be playing, still believes he'll play an important part. But he has, I know he hasn't been on the field, but, he's turned up to training with the right attitude. And, as I say, he's a very popular player amongst the group. The boys like him. He's a straight up guy. So that's what he'll bring.
Okay. Does that now open the door for the club to confirm Reece Martin for next season, Willie?
No, not at this stage.
If he was an option, what sort of a player would that, or what would a player of that experience bring you?
Oh, if he wasn't, I'll talk about, when we can talk about, who we're looking to bring in. If we do bring Reece in, we'll announce it. If we bring someone else in, we'll announce it, and then we'll talk about that player when the time's right.
When might you be in a position to do that? Fans will be obviously keen to know when that next person comes in. Is that close? Are you on the verge of being able to announce that?
Yeah, like everything, I'll always update the fans. I'm a coach that certainly gives fans a lot of information when I've got it and when we can get things out, and that won't change. I'll announce, and the club will announce. We're going to make another signing, so that's no secret, and we'll announce that when we can.
Good stuff. Thanks for that, Willie. Just going back to the Mikey Lewis biting claim, when Rich spoke to you after the game, you only knew really briefly what had been said to you. Since then, there's been no charge. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, well, there's been no charge, so that's it. I've got no comment after this to make. Is the RFL have made a decision, and we respect that, and we stand by that, and we move on.
You said Elliot Minchella was meeting up with England again this week. What's that done for him this season?
Yeah, a lot. Minnie came back. They had a meeting on Monday night, and whenever he goes in that environment, he comes out. He's a high energy player and he's a passionate person, and we know how important he is for us. But he gets a lot every time he goes in. I'm a big advocate and believer in allowing players to get in that environment when they can. Obviously, I'm not the decision maker on who goes in those environments, but certainly when you're around other elite players, and obviously Wayne, very experienced coach, and how he drives things, there's no doubt that they come out, whether it's a game or meeting, and focused, looking forward to hopefully getting picked the back end of the year. So good. Minnie actually rang me last night. We had a good conversation around it. But as I said, it's only positive when our players are exposed to environments like that.
Of course, and another player you'd like to be exposed to that is Dean Hadley. I know we've spoken about him a lot, and various people have, but let me just ask you, how much does he continue to improve himself and improve you as well?
Oh, he improves us every week. He does the job for us week in, week out, and that's why he's one of the first picked, and that's why he's very hard to take off the field. We pride ourselves in all the effort areas and competing hard, and he leads that every week. We show pictures and vision of Dino doing that every single game. So, and we'll continue to show that because that's what we value, and he'll continue to do that as well. So it's played an important part of our season so far, and no doubt he'll continue to play an important role towards the back end of the year.
Yeah, how big an inspiration and motivator is he to others in the squad?
Yeah, he's a leader through his actions, and I think they're the biggest. They say people communicate and say a lot and think that's the way to lead. And then the best leaders for me are the ones that do it through their actions. Obviously, communicating verbally is important, but your actions are the most important for me, and he leads with that every day. So that rubs off on the other team. So whether it's an effort-based action in a game, he's the one that should be telling other players to do it if they're not, because he'll always do it himself. He's come into our leadership group, and he's growing. He's naturally a quiet guy. He's again well liked within the group and extremely well respected. And you can't not respect Dino for what he does for this club.
You could tell over the recent years how frustrating it had been for him. He'd been unfortunate with injuries at times. How good has it been for him to so far avoid that to any great extent? And we'll all touch wood as I ask you that question. Yeah,
it's one of those, like, it's rugby league, and the way that Dean plays, you're gonna get bumps and bruises, and that word that you just mentioned. So look, any player that gets to play a run of games is always going to improve and put himself in a strong position. Dino's had a great preseason. He has been able to do that for the last couple of years now, which is set him up for 2 big seasons since I've been coach. I've only seen Dino go after every single session, and if he does have a niggle, he'll push through, and if he's injured, we know he's injured. So we don't, we pull him out and be smart, because he's the type of guy that he'll just keep going, and you need to pull him back. But you always like those type of guys in your team, and players certainly love playing with them.
Of course. Did I pick up on a spot of superstition there, Willie? Did you avoid using the I word?
Yeah, I don't use that word.
It's probably for the best. I can understand it. Let's talk about where you're at right now. Once you're at the top, you're there to be shot at and knocked off your perch, aren't you? How well are your players responding to that right now?
Yeah, they're fine. I think we I know it's cliche, but we sort of focus week to week. There's 5 games or so to go, and the most important game for us is St Helens. So we judge ourselves on how we come into training, and today was a review preview from the weekend. They've had a couple of days off and they had a recovery day and then a day away. So it's important that they got their recovery, got some time with family, and then they come in and we always judge ourselves on what we do, when we're in the building and then what we do obviously in game day. So, but what's important for us is what the players do when they're away from Craven Park. It's yes, we want to be obsessed in terms of wanting more out of ourselves and wanting more as a team and obviously striving for bigger things, but they certainly need that downtime as well. So it's important that they get away and spend time with family and spend time with do some hobbies that don't make them think about rugby league. I think it's important for everyone, coaches included. It's very hard to do, but it's important for everyone just to keep them fresh. So I've enjoyed watching them handle the last few weeks, and as I say, there's still a long way to go, but they're on the right track.
What did you do to follow your own advice then, Willie?
No, I haven't done too much. I mean, food's my favourite thing. So as long as I'm fed, I'm happy. Look, spending time with the family is always number one. But as a coach, there's always something on. So, but we had some time away. We all had time away on the rep round, and that was enough to recharge some batteries for myself and the staff. But players are the ones that physically put themselves through, each week, and obviously the mental side that goes into it. So, for us staff, it's more the mental. You get tired, but it's mainly the mental side that you need to keep working on and get some downtime as well. So as long as the staff are doing that and coming in fresh, which they are, then it'll feed through the players too.
I love how you mentioned food. Your jacket potato conversation early this season with James was still one of the most popular parts of that whole hour.
Yeah. I love my jacket potatoes, which was no secret now. But yeah, that's my little go-to.
On the serious side, what's the big challenge for you as a coach now? As you said, 5 games to go, you're in the playoffs and you trust your players as professionals. I don't think that's in any question, but I know you're a competitor. What's the biggest challenge for you now?
Look, I think just to stay consistent with who we are and what we've done. That's the key. It's very easy to have a successive run of winning games, and then that starts to feel really good, and you start to get the pats on the back, and you can get ahead of yourself, and then you start missing what's in front of you. So that's the challenge for all of us, is just to make sure when we're in, and our standards never alter from where we want to be. Doesn't matter who we're playing, where we're playing. That's the approach that we want to have. So that's, for me, is a challenge for everyone, is having the discipline to maintain our standards and professionalism and the detail that goes into our week. If we continue to do that, and then the players perform at the level they are, and the way they perform is we narrow things down to our KPIs and the areas that we value on game day. If we do that, then we'll put ourselves in in every game.
What do you see in St Helens right now?
Look, St Helens, we know what St Helens team we're going to get on Saturday. There's no doubt about that. Back at home, they've obviously had a challenging run with that word. That with injuries, there's no secret there. It's been unfortunate for them. They've gone through a period there that they've lost some key personnel. But St Helens, if you ever look at St Helens in the stats, they're still up there in all the key areas. Everyone's spoken around St Helens having, some of the words that were getting thrown around about their year. But then, a few weeks ago, they'll first and second in the key stats. And that's, they started to have a couple of injuries, and to key personnel, that's always going to upset rhythm. It's not going to upset their attack, in terms of their flow. But they get Johnny Lomax back this week. I think Sereni Matauti is back this week. So naturally, 2 very experienced players. One's going to give, some intent and, some grunt through the middle or the edge. And then the other one's going to naturally give direction. So it's easy to know what St Helens team we're going to get this week. But, we speak about it every week. We need to worry about us and ensure that we get the whole KR team that's we've been producing, the performance that we've been producing every week. We need to ensure that turns up this week.
Of course. And just a final one. So confirmed in the playoffs, as we said, you've beaten every team in Super League this season, which is some going. But the club itself, long before your time, obviously haven't won at Saints since 2013. Just as a nice little aside, you want to win every one, but how much would you like to put that little record to bed as well?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry, mate.
Yeah, sorry, no worries. The club haven't won at St Helens since 2013. You want to win every game, but how much would you like to be the one that puts that to bed as well?
Oh, look, yeah, we want to win every game. And we actually spoke about it. I've spoken about it this morning. It doesn't matter about who we play, where we play. Like, we hadn't beaten Warrington in the 2 years. So I didn't say to the players that we're going to beat Warrington because we haven't beaten them in 2 years. Same goes for this. Naturally, we want to go and win this game, and that record's squashed. But it's not about going over to St Helens to say, that's not our motivation. That's what I'm getting at here. Our motivation is not about because we haven't won there in 2013. Our motivation is so we can stay on top. Our motivation is so that we can continue to improve the way we have throughout this year, or over the course of the last 2 years. There's been gradual improvement, over that course, over that time. Sorry. So for us, it's just about if we perform to the levels that we have, then we'll put ourselves in a position to win the game.
Thanks, Willie. Best of luck with it. Cheers for your time.
Thanks, mate.
Hello, Willie.
Hey, Aaron. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. Thank you. How are you?
Good.
Just thought I'd follow up on Tom, first of all, if that's all right. I know that, as you were mentioning, it's not been the easiest time for him with the news about leaving the club. So the fact now he might potentially have a chance to get more action on the field, it must be psychologically good for him that that's happening now.
Yeah, there's possibility. I mean, he's up for selection every week, Tom. So, he obviously hasn't been playing, a great deal of late, but he'll be in the frame this week.
Just on Oliver Gildart, he's had his injury difficulties this year, so another blow again against Catalan. So I just thought I'd ask you how you would assess how his year has gone so far.
Yeah, look, rugby league, that word comes up again, injuries, like it can be part of the game, and it's unfortunate. So, his injuries that they can't be helped. Sometimes they're just unlucky rugby league injuries. If you have a look at his injury on the weekend, he fell. If you have a look at his last one, he did the same thing. He fell down and then it's collided, and then he was out for weeks with his neck. But he's in good spirits. He's fine now. Sometimes they're just unlucky. There's times there that players can do more, or staff can do more. But in terms of Gilly's injuries, I can't think of them more now. But yeah, I don't think there hasn't been anywhere, that you can say that he hasn't put the effort in, or prep in, or recovery in, or the staff haven't done enough for him. He did his knee. That was the other one as well. So they're just rugby league injuries. It's a physical game. It's a brutal game at times. So when he's played, I've been really happy with him.
And on St Helens, as you were saying, a lot of their stats are good over the course of the year. But with there having been sort of disruption in recent weeks, would you view this as a good time to be playing St Helens?
I think St Helens, there's no doubt they're going to step up from last week. So we're going to get much improved St Helens. So that's a good thing. Look, I'm not sure, but what I am sure about is that we want to play against the best in the competition, and they've been the best for many, many years. So again, you have a look at the stats in the key areas and the way they defend. They're a hard team to break down. They still score points. As I said, they lost some key personnel, so they'll come back in this week. But yeah, we've got a run home that we're playing a lot of the top teams, and I think it's a good thing because it'll set us up for the back end of the year, regardless of where we finish.
They're looking at Rover stats. You've got a lot of players who've got 13 tries plus already at this stage of the season. People like Peta, Mikey, Ryan Hall. So the fact you've got so much strike at the moment, that must be a big positive in your eyes as a coaching staff.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the way we attack is, people talk about eyes up rugby. What is eyes up rugby? But we've got a framework that allows players to express themselves and play what's in front. So we don't want to be predictable. We don't want to be a team where other teams are reviewing us or previewing us, and we've become predictable. I remember at the start of the year, spoke to someone. They said, "Oh, you're going to score a lot on the left-hand side." I said, "Well, I think we'll score a fair few on the right as well. We've got some balance, but it's about as I say, having options on both sides and being a threat on both sides, and that's where that those numbers and those try scorers and where the assists are coming from. It's not just like a few years back or left hand side. A lot of our tries were scored on the left. Where now we're better balanced in that area.
And on Peta Hiku, we're speaking to him soon. So he's looking a lot more comfortable since he's been in the centre. So I just sort of ask you how you think he's been going in recent times.
Yeah, I think it's been awesome for us. He came over as a big signing, and obviously it was at fullback at the start, which I don't think he was going all that bad. There was some negative publicity around it, but his best position is centre. There's no doubt about that. So then we identified that, and he's made the move, and I think he's there's no doubt he'd be one of the centres for me in the dream team. That's for sure.
Just generally on the coaching side of things for coaches across Super League, I mean, Paul Wellens has got some contractual stability. A lot of the coaches have got stability now. So as a sport, do you think it's a positive thing that so many clubs now are seeing the value of long-term projects? Yeah,
of course. It's we're in a sport coaches go into it, and there's so much unpredictability around futures. And but look, I look at Paul Wellens, and there's no doubt he's a very good coach. The reason why I say that, again, you need to have a look at evidence. Evidence backs things up. So for me, last year, I think Willow's at maybe 60% as a coach, which is outstanding for a record to have. And I know St Helens have won competitions, but they haven't gone through what they've gone through the last sort of 2 years. They've had a lot of injuries, and they've had a lot of injuries this year. So, he looks like Willow's a very good coach, and you can see that the way that his team plays, they play for him, and there's no doubt about that. So it's good that he's been rewarded with another contract. And like all of us, every people want stability in their lives, but it's got to work for both the club, the player, or the club and the coach. And Willow's certainly the right man for Saints.
And looking at the table, the fact is you've been top for quite a few times now recently, compared to in the past where you were chasing that position. So I thought I'd just ask about a psychological point of view as to what you think is better, being the team that's viewed as an underdog, or whether now you're happy to be the ones that are right up there at the top.
I'll let you know in about 8 weeks. It's new, isn't it? We're there at the moment, but we're just, as I say, I know it's cliche, but we're just taking game by game, and we know now, I know now that teams are coming to Craven Park, and they know they're in for a tough night. And I know that St Helens would be looking at us going, potentially this is going to be a tough game as well. So we know what we're capable of, but we certainly don't get ahead of ourselves. And we want to be playing for the major trophies. So what comes with that? It's a privilege, to be in that position. And then if other teams want to go after you, that's a privilege. It's like teams. Chasing the St Helens and the Wiggins and what they've done over the years. That's been over many years. Those clubs have worked extremely hard, and have got a top culture. Their cultures, they're a culture first organisation. You can see that. So that's what we're striving to be as well. So we've improved. There's no doubt about that, but we're not the finished product.
Well, that's it for me. Thank you, Willie.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Hi, Willie. It's Martin here.
Hey, Martin. How are you, mate?
Not too bad at all. Just following up really on what you've been asked already. I mean, obviously it's covered a lot of ground, but there are 3 major trophies in rugby league out there for Super League clubs, and you came incredibly close last year to winning one of them. But obviously the next one is the League Leaders Shield. I just wonder how, do you regard the League Leaders Shield as being akin to the winning the Super League Grand Final, or is the Super League Grand Final really the ultimate trophy to win?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd say the Super League trophy is the ultimate. But certainly we go after, we talk about it internally. It doesn't matter what trophy we're playing for. We want to go after it. So, either the Challenge Cup, the Roger Millward Cup, it was against Cass, League Leaders Shield, and then obviously the Super League title as well. So, any trophy, we want to be a club that competes for them. So look, to get the League Leaders Shield would be an honour. I don't think we've ever won that before in the Super League. So in the Super League era, So naturally, it would be something that we want to go after. But if that did happen, and it's a long way away, but if it did happen, it's not job finished. That's for sure.
It's now a 3-horse race for that trophy, isn't it? Effectively, I think the teams in 4th, 5th, and 6th are too far behind now to challenge. If I could use an analogy, it's a bit like a horse race where you're coming into the final furlong. You're a nose ahead of Wigan, and Warrington are maybe a length behind you, and you're all, charging to the winning post, I suppose. It's a pretty exciting race, isn't it? And you've got some tough games, 5 games against other teams that are all contenders, really, because even your last 2 games are Lee and Leeds, but they're still striving to get into the 6th. So it's, as you say, it's no easy challenge. If you do win it, the League Leaders Shield, I think it's fair to say you will have deserved it. Yeah,
I'll come back with you on your analogy. So we've all got mates that when you've backed a horse, you tell them you've backed a horse and you get the 300 and they go, you're home, and then it doesn't win. So I don't want anyone to say that we're home, that we're going to get the League Leaders Shield. There's a long way to go, mate, as you say. And, as I said, we're striving to get silverware. So the League Leaders Shield would be an honour, and a reflection on the hard work that the players have done all year. But that's a long way away, mate. We've got 5 games. That narrow focus is St Helens, which we're looking forward to.
Can I just ask you as well, you've had some great games this year. You've played well for most of them. Looking back, there was only 1 game this year, I think, where you were disappointing. And obviously that was the Challenge Cup semi-final against Wigan, where you probably didn't play to your potential. Is it true to say that you always learn more from that sort of game than you do from games that you win, like you won easily last weekend? But that Wigan game, that's one you don't want to repeat, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when it comes to the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I've spoken before around it. Your best and worst performance not being too far away. That was our worst performance, which was a long way away from our best. So, then we've had games that we've won, and it wasn't our best performance. It might have been more down to the bottom end, but it wasn't too far away from that best, if that makes sense. So, that's what we strive to do, and basically to be consistent with our performances. And that's what we'll need to do going into the semi-finals. Obviously, we're locked in now with the result last week, but we need to make sure that we're at that top end of being consistent with our best, because the Wiggins and Warringtons and St Helens and teams like that, obviously they'll lift as well. And then there's Catalans and Salford and obviously Leeds and Lee. There's a fair few now that are still vying for positions in that finals who are going to have the same mindset as well. So there's a lot to play for, but I think it's exciting because most teams have got something to play for.
Can I just ask you a very different question, completely on a different subject? You're an ex-South Sydney guy. Ron Coote has just been voted in as the new immortal. You're probably too young to remember him playing, I would guess. But do you have any? Do you know Ron, and do you have any thoughts about him becoming the next immortal?
Yeah, I do know Ron. Is the first time I met Ron, I didn't actually know who he was at the time, and I just remember going, "What a lovely gentleman that man is." He was just a great man who I got introduced to, and then I realised it was embarrassing because I didn't realise that Ron Coote was Ron Coote, the legend of the Rabbitohs, played for the Roosters. So he's, he just got inducted as an immortal, and I wish him all the best and congratulate him. He's as I say, he's a great man. He spends a lot of time still around the club. And a lot of the ex players are still very close, those Rabbitohs players. I think he was always going to at some stage, and he was successful after rugby league under a few McDonald's along the way. And as I said,
including one on King's Cross, which I interviewed him at some years ago. Yeah,
I might have eaten there once or twice. So mate, he's a good man and obviously a legend in the game, and well deserved.
And done some great work with the Men of League Foundation as well, hasn't he, Ron?
Yeah, he has.
Very significant part of that.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, and anyone that sort of comes in contact with him always says the same thing: is that he's a gentleman.
Absolutely.
And obviously a legend of the game.